So is the Earth a globe, or is it flat? Let's go back in time and see how we got to be asking this question today. It all started about 2,000 years ago with a Greek philosopher called Pythagoras. He came up with the idea that the Earth was round, based on some simple observations. When ships sailed away from the Greek coast, they didn't just sail off the edge of the world, but they disappeared hull first, and then the masts above them remained visible for longer. This made sense to Pythagoras and his followers, because if the Earth was flat, then these ships would have just kept getting smaller and smaller until they were too far away to be seen. But this didn't happen. So Pythagoras figured out that the Earth must be curved, and this idea remained the dominant one throughout Greece and eventually the Roman Empire. In fact, even after the fall of Rome, many cultures throughout history had enough evidence to know that the Earth was round. Arab scholars knew about the Earth's roundness. African and Asian cultures also had an understanding that the Earth wasn't flat. And when Christopher Columbus set sail to try to reach India by sailing west across the Atlantic, he was confident he wouldn't fall off the edge of the world. In fact, he underestimated how far away India was and ended up making landfall in the Americas. But regardless, the fact that he didn't immediately fall into the abyss proves that the Earth is indeed round. The idea of a flat Earth only became popular in the mid-1800s. But why? Well, here are 5 reasons that might explain this sudden change. Number 1. The invention of flat Earth maps. Now, let me be clear here. The idea of the Earth being flat isn't new, but the idea of a flat Earth map is. Before the mid-1800s, there wasn't really any way to represent a spherical Earth on a flat surface without distorting it in some way. Of course, we have maps now like the Mercator projection, which are great for navigation, but they're full of inaccuracies. For example, if you want to know which country is the largest, you might think it's Russia, but actually it's Canada. It's just that the Mercator projection makes it look like Russia is bigger. Also, a lot of people don't realize that Alaska isn't the same size as Brazil. It's actually 5 million square kilometers smaller than Brazil. Even though on a Mercator projection it looks much larger, there have been many attempts to invent a map projection that accurately represents the real world, but none of them are perfect. And so people have been unsatisfied with these maps, and what better way to get rid of all the distortion than to just abandon the idea of a spherical Earth altogether? If the Earth is flat, then a flat map of the Earth is also a true map. No. 2. The introduction of flat Earth theories. By the mid-1800s, science was becoming more and more popular, and with that, scientists were able to use mathematics to come up with various theories about how the universe works. Unfortunately, a lot of these theories contradict each other, and so scientists don't agree on many things. But there is one thing that many scientists agree on today. Einstein was right, and one of his theories is that the Earth is a globe. However, back in the 1800s, many scientists were looking at the evidence and coming to a different conclusion. One of these people was a man called Samuel Robotham, who wrote a book called The New Philosophy. In it, he presents his arguments for why the Earth isn't a sphere. He instead believed that the Earth was a disk with a North Pole in the middle, and the South Pole was a wall that surrounded the edge of the Earth. And to prevent people from walking off the edge of the world, God placed the ocean there. His argument mainly revolved around the fact that no one could ever see the curvature of the Earth, therefore it must be flat. This idea was similar to Pythagorean ideas from 2,000 years before. Pythagoras believed that the Earth was a sphere, because he could see the curvature of it from the surface. However, for most of human history, it's been impossible to see the curvature of the Earth from space, and so Rotherham argued that this lack of evidence means that the Earth must be flat. Over the next 100 years, many people would follow Rotherham's thinking and come up with their own flat Earth theories. The most popular of these theories today is the disk theory, which is very similar to Rotherham's theory. According to this theory, the Earth is a disk with a North Pole in the middle and a South Pole wall. However, there's another theory that's also quite popular, which is the plane theory. According to this theory, the Earth is flat, like a sheet of paper, and there's no North Pole or South Pole. Instead, there's only one pole, which is the North Pole. These two theories are the main ones today. But there are many other theories, such as the geoid theory, which says that the Earth is shaped like a potato. And there's even a theory that the Earth is a but these are fringe theories and aren't widely accepted. The two main theories today are the disk theory and the plane theory. And if you want to know which one is correct, well, let's talk about No. 3. The evidence that the Earth is round. Let's take a step back and look at the evidence. First, let's ignore everything to do with satellites, space travel, and modern technology. After all, many flat earthers reject all of this evidence as being fake or irrelevant. So let's see what we have left. We can start off with a simple thought experiment. Imagine you're standing on a beach and you see a boat in the distance. As the boat gets closer, you see its hull first and then its mast. If the Earth is flat, then the hull should get smaller at the same rate as the mast, but this doesn't happen. The mast remains visible for longer, and this tells us that the Earth must be curved. In fact, if you stand on a high place like an airplane, you can actually see the curve of the Earth. If the Earth was flat, then you wouldn't be able to see its curve. So this is pretty strong evidence that the Earth isn't flat. Another piece of evidence is that during solar eclipses, the shadow of the moon appears round on the Earth. If the Earth is flat, then the shadow shouldn't be round. It should either be a weird shape or a crescent, but it's never anything other than round. And this tells us that the Earth must be curved. You can also see this round shadow if you watch videos of lunar eclipses. The Earth casts a shadow on the moon, and that shadow is always round. If the Earth was flat, then this shadow shouldn't be round. Again, it should be a weird shape or a crescent, but it's never anything other than round, so this is more evidence that the Earth isn't flat. Finally, we have the most obvious piece of evidence, which is that astronauts have been to space and they've taken pictures of the Earth. If the Earth was flat, then surely one of these astronauts would have noticed and taken a picture of the edge of the Earth, but they haven't. And so this is perhaps the most obvious piece of evidence that the Earth isn't flat. Now, despite all of this evidence, there are still people who believe that the Earth is flat, and there are two main reasons for this. No. For a distrust of authority. Many flat earthers don't trust scientists or governments, and so they reject all of the evidence that I just talked about. They believe that these pictures of the Earth from space are fake, and that the Earth really is flat. No. 5. The desire for some people believe that the Earth is flat because they think it makes them special. Here's what I mean. According to NASA, 93 million miles away from the Earth is the Sun, and every year the Earth travels around the Sun, and there are 8 other planets in the solar system that also orbit the Sun in the exact same way. According to NASA, our solar system is just one of many in the Milky Way galaxy, and there are hundreds of billions of planets in the galaxy. And then there is the fact that the Milky Way is just one galaxy among many others in the observable universe, and all of these galaxies have planets in them. And so, if the Earth is a planet in a galaxy, in a solar system, in a universe, well, then the Earth is pretty insignificant. However, if the Earth is flat, then it's unique. It's the only flat planet in a round universe. And so, believing in a flat Earth makes people feel special because they think it makes them part of something unique. Now, I personally think this is a pretty weak reason to believe in a flat Earth. But hey, everyone has their reasons. Thank you very much for watching.